All right, let's talk Monday Night Football. Tonight we're looking at what seems like a classic mismatch on paper. We've got the Kansas City Chiefs playing host to the Washington Commanders, and pretty much all the experts are predicting a primetime beatdown. So let's get into why. Yeah, right off the bat, the consensus here is, well, it's overwhelming. The writers we're looking at aren't just kind of leaning one way, they're basically shouting it from the rooftops. It really sets the stage for a game that feels more like a foregone conclusion than a real fight. So, what's got everybody so convinced?
It all comes down to this. These two teams are just rocketing in completely opposite directions. I mean, think about it. Just a few weeks back, people were whispering that the Chiefs were a dying dynasty, while Washington actually looked a bit better. Now, the Chiefs are the toast of the NFL again, and the Commanders are just getting crushed by injuries. It's the definition of a perfect storm.
Okay, so first up, let's dive into the Kansas City side of this story. Their turnaround has been absolutely dramatic. We're talking about a team that looked like they were in real trouble, and now they're making these huge, powerful statements every single week. And, it's kind of easy to forget, but it really wasn't that long ago that the Chiefs were genuinely struggling. People were using words like miserable to describe their performance across the board: offense, defense, the whole shebang. And that context is so important for understanding just how insane their recent run has been. And here's exactly how they flipped the script. The offense looks totally revitalized. They're on a roll, just putting up points like it's nothing. You've got Patrick Mahomes back to his old self, throwing multiple touchdowns. And maybe most importantly, they've gotten healthy, which just makes them a more talented, deeper team top to bottom right now. All right, now let's flip the coin and look at the other side of the field. The Washington Commanders. Man, they are fighting a serious uphill battle. A team that's really defined by one huge strength and a whole bunch of pretty glaring weaknesses. And here it is. This is their one big hope. Washington has the #1 rushing offense in the entire league. They average a wild 5.4 yards every single time they run the ball. That is an elite, game-changing number. And honestly, against almost any other team, that might be the headline. But, and this is the million-dollar question, can an amazing run game really make up for everything else that's going wrong? Well, the experts have a pretty clear answer. Probably not. And here is exactly why that awesome run game might not even matter. I mean, let's be real, a great ground game doesn't mean a whole lot if you can't stop the other guys from scoring basically whenever they want. Washington's defense is ranked 27th, that's way down there, and they've only forced 3 turnovers all season long. That is just not going to cut it against an offense like Kansas City's. Let's just put some hard numbers on that, okay? This defense gives up over 24 points and almost 360 yards times every single game. They're stumbling into this matchup after 2 straight losses, and the analysis is blunt. They have an awful secondary and a mediocre pass rush. You just can't have that when you're about to face Patrick Mahomes. It's a recipe for disaster. One writer just summed it up perfectly. They said Washington's struggling defense is about to run straight into a buzzsaw. That's what the Chiefs' offense is right now. And wow, it's hard to think of a worse possible matchup for them. So when you put it all together, you've got the Chiefs soaring, Washington struggling. You get a final verdict from the writers that is completely 100% one-sided. I mean, just look at this. It's incredible. Every single writer picked the Chiefs to win and to win by a lot. And the reasons they give all sound familiar, right? Charles Robinson calls Washington one of the worst defensive units in the league. Lucas Straczynski points right to that awful secondary. The theme is crystal clear. Washington's defense just has no answer for this Chiefs offense. So, with all that in mind, what should you actually be watching for when you tune in on Monday night? What's kind of frame the key storylines of the game so you know exactly what to look for? It really boils down to 3 big questions. First, can Washington's elite running game control the clock and keep Patrick Mahomes on the sideline? That is their only real shot at an upset. Second, just how badly is the Chiefs' passing attack going to expose that weak secondary? And finally, number 3, can Washington's defense do something it almost never does and force a big turnover? The answers to those 3 questions are going to tell the whole story of this game. So look, the takeaway is simple. All the signs, all the stats, all the experts, they're all pointing in the exact same direction. On paper, under the bright lights at Arrowhead Stadium, this thing just looks like a classic primetime mismatch. Which leaves us with just one last thought. We've all heard that old saying in football, right? any given Sunday, anything can happen. So I guess the real question for Monday night isn't just about who's going to win. It's whether that old saying still holds up when all the evidence is stacked this high against one team. Guess we'll have to watch and find out.